Why do we fail in relationships despite our best effort? This is the Love Secrets podcast, where we talk about what we wish we knew about love. I'm a relationship therapist and coach, Sanya Bari, and this is my sister, my confidant, and my partner in crime, Rabya.
Hello, everyone.
We are talking about relationship myths that spoil relationships. Today's myth is, I have to earn my love. That love is something that you have to earn from others. We have all been conditioned to think this way. It is a collective confusion that all of us have. And for good reason. Our parents, our teachers, our social systems, our corporate systems, everything benefits from us feeling that when we are going to look a certain way, when we're going to do a certain thing, when we're going to buy a certain thing, that's when we're going to be loved. And it works well. The system works well. We do fall in line. We buy all of the things they want us to buy and jump through all of the hoops that we need to jump through. But that is not the recipe for fulfillment and joy. You can get to levels of happiness and satisfaction that way. But if you want to move to higher order things like fulfillment and joy, you actually have to undo this conditioning inside you. As far as relationships are concerned, believing in this myth can be very detrimental to us, and it can be the very thing that launches us into approval dependency, which really is that I am dependent on your approval. Now, there will be people that'll say, I really don't even care about people. I don't care what people think about me. They may not be the people who need people to think something of them, but they may need things. They may need situations, and those situations could be accolades, popularity, fame. You will find them working towards something else. But the concept and the dependency is the same. Unless I get there, I'm not going to be happy.
Definitely. I think that, growing up, I remember, kids having those collector toys, right? You buy the main set, the littlest pet shop pets, and then you buy the home, and then you need the next toy and the next toy and the most rarest find. But then where do you stop? And the whole collection is done. But am I happy? Am I better off than my friend?
Yes. And what a great example, because it's such a beautiful place for us to learn that when you get that one thing and you do get that temporary satisfaction, but then the only position that it puts you in is to want more.
Exactly. I think these days, I think the kids have shorter bursts of those things where they're conditioned to buy something that will just, open up and give you a surprise gift. But then once you're surprised, that gift is usually lying in the garbage in, less than an hour.
Yes.
And you're just being conditioned to just buy that and become popular with your friends.
Yeah. And that too, we know the popularity is not something that lasts. We are all trying to fill that abyss that we feel inside, but we're filling it with things that, number one, we don't have control over. Number two, we all know while we're filling ourselves up with them that they're transient. And it puts us in a situation where we are always feeling just as good as the worst thing that's happening to us. Because that's what human nature is. If we have really resided in that conditioning that I need all of these, this approval dependency, then all of these little things, these people, these things, and these situations have to fall into place in order for me to feel good, in order for me to feel okay. And what is our life like? Something's always going to be wrong. And human nature is that our mind, our attention is going to focus more on what's wrong. But the ultimate result is that we're always going to be upset. And this is why the anxiety is so rampant everywhere around us. And it is just getting worse as we are able to now see more and more things and that we can, and situations and people that we can be with and enjoy with the advent of social media.
So, Sanya, sometimes in relationships, there is an expectation that no matter what's happening in your life, your dreams have been broken, you have gone through some kind of abuse in your relationship, the current with your partner, the current relationship with your partner, or, somewhere outside, all hell is breaking loose. But the expectation is that you put on a smile, have a cheery, positive disposition and carry on, and that's how you earn love. That's how you're making your family, you're keeping it together, right? So what do you have to say about that?
All of us have been there. Sometimes we have been shamed when we object, and it can be very confusing. We are many times rewarded for being submissive and or compliant. So I'm going to really ask all of us to tap into how that feels, how constricted, small, and choked up it feels. That is really not what we are supposed to be at the mercy and the will and the whims of somebody else. So when I am controlled by what you need me to do, then it's impossible for me to be myself. So what you're really asking me to do is to be whoever you need me to be so you can be happy. How is that going to open up a place where you can feel love and fulfillment and joy? So it's just not really aligning with what we want in our life. But sometimes it's not as extreme as you're saying it. Sometimes we are appeasing in this way, and it's so subtle. And we're all enlightened men and women with freedoms and everything, but we're still doing exactly what you described. And it is really up to us to become conscious of it. Every time we have a choice, a fork in the road, to go this way where we're going to follow our conditioning, our program thinking, and just please people, things, and situations, to instead at that moment take the other path, the path of authenticity, and do what is really, really true for us, what gives us joy.
So, Sanya, if you have already been conditioned to earn your love, right? How do you come out of that?
If you've been conditioned to do that, then most likely you're feeling the upset, you're feeling low energy, and the energy comes from motivation. So to really become clear on how I just don't like it. I don't like the way I feel. And I don't want to feel like that anymore. And to use that motivation to just become conscious. Whoever is listening to this podcast, as soon as you finish, this is something you can do today, right now, in this moment. That just become conscious of every moment that you actually want to say no to somebody, and what you're doing is saying yes. As Nathaniel Branden says, every time you say yes to someone, when what you really want to do is say no, what you're doing is you're saying no to yourself. Say no to yourself enough times, and the self inside you starts to lose faith in you, trust in you. You start to spoil your relationship with yourself. So if somebody is done, if they're done feeling this way and they don't want this in their life anymore, this darkness, this pain, this anxiety, this craziness, then just one moment at a time, become conscious and start to make a different choice. When you get that fork in the road, make a different choice. When you make the choice the first time, second time around, would become easier because you would ride on the energy of the first choice.
That is such a wonderful point, to make sure that you have the right relationship with yourself, to have that respect and conditioning to make sure that you take care of your needs first.
Yeah. One of the magic pills that I can give you, anybody who's listening and is done with being subjugated in this craziness, this dependency, is to tap into your joy. Joy is a truth teller. You're just not going to find joy in something that is not truly authentically you, that doesn't represent the true essence of your being. You're just not going to find joy there.
I love that. Joy is a truth teller. I love that.
Yeah. So the more we tap into our joy, the more like ourselves we'll feel. And come on, Rabya, it's going to be fun.
That almost reminds me of Marie Kondo. Spark joy in your relationship.
Yeah, KonMari, like I love that. I love doing that. And you're the one who told me about it, as you always tell me about all of these things. And I can't tell you how much energy I've cleared up by, yes, picking up my sweater and saying, does this give me joy? And then thinking, and of course, my shopping has really improved because I really do have to check with things now before I can bring them home, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. And that really helps you sort things out. And I remember that after we cleaned our closets and we were done with organizing our houses and rooms and closets and everything, I think the second step that we took was to organize our relationships.
Yes.
We looked at every one of our relationships and said, hey, does this person on Facebook, does this contact bring me joy?
Exactly.
That was fun. That was fun.
And if somebody said this to me, like, I wouldn't believe it, but it's just when you experience something, you can't deny it, because there are so many clothes and so many things. You start to create new neural pathways when you're constantly picking up every shirt and saying, does this give me joy? Does this give me joy? Does this give? By the time you have practiced that, going into that neural pathway that many times, there has been this pathway that's opened up, where when you start to, first of all, you start to realize how great it feels when you are in your joy. And you start to also then realize what it feels like when you're not. So yes, I also cleaned out my friends, so to speak, and it's very easy to do so. I mean, all you have to do is not be subjugated to what they want, and they'll drop you. You don't have to drop them.
And then that clears out a lot of your energy, where you feel like, you are not being yourself and you need to appease or kind of act a certain way to maintain relationship with certain kinds of people or certain friends or certain acquaintances. In other words, earning your love.
And I remember so well, Rabya, that you would say to me that, I don't know, Sanya, how you put up with such and such person. And I just can't. And I couldn't understand what you were talking about, because I just turned myself on, right? And I can be with anybody. And after I did start tuning into myself, shining the light of my perception inside, it's almost like I would physically feel sick right before I was going to go meet them or something. And I may keep my commitment the one time that I did make an appointment to meet them, but I also couldn't get it out of my mind as to how badly that was feeling for me to pretend to be somebody I'm not. Because don't we have, I know you probably don't, have friends where you go to them or people in our lives, or, even in our work situations, and it's almost like they need for you to be someone for them.
Mm-hmm. They need you to play a certain role.
Yes.
You got invited to that party to play that role.
Yes. And when you don't play that role, they are so confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But also know that, I'm speaking to myself when I say that when I did sign up with those friends, I'm the one confused them, because I did play those roles. I did get them used to it.
Yeah.
So,
In certain cultures, I think, maybe almost all cultures, uh, you have this perception. Maybe it's conditioned by your parents or your friends, and
or the
just
culture itself.
the culture itself, right? That you need to play a certain role, like the man has to be the strong leader, or the woman has to be the person who completely takes care of every single thing in the house, and the house is clean and the food is perfectly cooked and everything. And when that doesn't happen, right, you feel like, I don't deserve that love. How do I earn that love?
Yes.
Right. So I think that I was watching a movie the other day where they put that problem in front of you, and it's so sad. It's so sad when people have to carry that weight, you know to be that man who has to be, you know completely taking over and becoming the leader and being the strong person when you're going through a tough time, or
Mm.
being the woman who maybe doesn't know how to cook or keep the house clean because she's so much else going on, right?
Yeah.
So, or like in my case, I think there was this expectation when my kids were little that and I more so, I think that doesn't happen anymore, that how could you be how could you have kids and be working as well? How
Oh,
could you be a corporate woman? Are you being a good mother? And so, uh, kind of conditioned into thinking that I can't be loved by my kids, or I can't be loved as a mother, or as a wife, if I'm not a stay-at-home person,
yes.
right?
Yes.
So I felt that burden pretty strongly as well. And
Yes.
I felt like I'm being boxed into a situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have somebody, a client of mine that I find very, very dear to me, and she's in her 30s and
Hmm.
early 30s. And I will tell you that, sadly, Rabya, she's saying the same thing. She's saying she just had a baby, a beautiful blessing, and she's having this great like fear and guilt, and thinking that, oh my god, I don't think my baby's going to love me because I'm going to go back to my corporate job.
Hmm.
And she is an amazingly talented woman.
Hmm.
Workforce would miss her. She's going to
The
do,
world would miss her
the world would miss
contribution.
her you
Yeah,
know and it's just it's
yeah.
almost like we need these permissions. We need these permissions to be ourselves.
And the time kind of tells you later on that, the kids actually appreciate that,
Yes.
you did something with your life.
Yes.
The kids become more responsible,
Yes. And
they
respect
have a way
your,
of becoming more independent.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I will tell you that, I mean, I did my grad school with my kids, and I remember my daughter saying to me that she was young, and she says, "Mom, I really don't think it's normal that you go to school, because I don't think moms do that." And, and they were on all of my ceremonies, my graduations, my honor ceremonies. And I mean, it just it made me feel so good for my kids to see that, yeah, I'm doing this despite everything. And I think my kids are better for it.
Yeah, and your kids are so proud. They were so proud to see you graduate. Yeah, that was wonderful to see. I remember that. Yeah, and so I have a friend who is going through a certain other situation where she is being boxed into this realization that she needs to, you know, get married because she's 30 something.
Oh my God.
She
Oh,
has to find a relationship, or the time is ticking to start a
biological.
family,
Yeah.
right? And am I being like, I may not find love because I might be too old, I might be too set in my ways, right? And so it's sad, unfortunately, how you kind of get boxed in, and you feel that you can't have love because you are not acting this a certain way, or you didn't do things a certain way.
Yes. This whole concept of running in this hamster wheel
Mhm.
of doing things for people so that we can earn our love, it just, the crazy part of this is that the more you do it, the more unloved you feel and the more at risk of being unloved you are. And it hits right at the core of our worthiness. Anybody who's listening, one little moment at a time, all of us have to work on winning our right to be ourselves back.
This is such a great discussion, Sanya. I had such a good time talking to you about this. And obviously, it sits really heavy on your soul when you feel that you have to act a certain way. Sometimes you're just conditioned to be that way, and you don't even know it. It's in your subconscious. So I hope that other people don't have to go through this difficulty and burden and pain of thinking that they need to ever earn to be loved.
Absolutely. Well said, Rabya. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Subscribe to our podcast because you deserve a beautiful relationship. We'd love to hear from you. Do leave a comment, send us a question. You can email us, but do tell us your experience of worthiness, your experience of what we spoke about. My email address is sanya@sanyabari.com. Love and light from our hearts to yours. We can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you. Goodbye.